Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our webinar on an introduction to the Armed Forces Covenant. We will learn how your business can support the Armed Forces community. My name is Anjum Khan, and I am the director of the Asian Business Chamber of Commerce. Today, we have Bobby Birdie, who is the Regional Employer Director of the West Midlands Reserve Forces Cadets Association. And also joining us a little later will be Major Naveed Mohammed. You will get an opportunity to ask any questions throughout the presentation. Can I please ask you to type away on the right hand side of your screen, and at the end of the presentation I shall ask Bobby the questions. If you have any technical issues, please also consult the Click Meeting Troubleshooting Q&A in the first instance. So over to you, Bobby. Welcome.
Hello, hi. Yeah, just waiting for my slide presentation to come through. Yeah, my name's Bobby. I'm the Regional Employer Engagement Director for the West Midlands Reserve Forces and Cadets Association. My role is to act as a single point of contact for all employers in the region for any queries that are relating to working with defence. So we engage with all employers. So anyone who employs anybody, we're interested in engaging with. So part of my role, I can offer advice and support on a number of things, including employing members of the armed forces community and supporting any reservists or cadet force adult volunteers that you employ. So today I'm going to be talking about the Armed Forces Covenant as a way of you publicly demonstrating your support for the armed forces. So let's have a quick look through the aims and objectives of the presentation. So my aims and objectives for this is to enable everyone to learn more about the Armed Forces Covenant, to learn how businesses can support the Armed Forces community, and also for you to learn about how you can benefit from working with the Armed Forces community. So when we talk about the Armed Forces, we're talking about the Royal Navy, the Army, and the Royal Air Force. The Royal Navy has a reserve unit in Bordesley Green called HMS Forward. The RAF has a reserve unit in Wolverhampton called Cosford, and the Army have several reserve units across the region, including Sparkbrook, Kings Heath, West Brom, Sheldon, Redditch, and also Coventry. So it's a fairly healthy footprint in Birmingham and indeed across the West Midlands. Now, just to let you know, I'm very new to the Armed Forces community. I've been in post for 1 year, and then prior to this, I was involved in recruitment training, particularly within the welfare to work sector. So the Armed Forces at that time was a bit of a blind spot for me. So I didn't really realise how many opportunities there were for people across, sort of the different reserve units. And it said that only 8% of the population now have a connection with people from the Armed Forces community. So moving on to the Armed Forces Covenant, the key principle involved in the Armed Forces Covenant is just that first paragraph. So the Armed Forces Covenant is a promise from the nation that those who serve or who have served in the armed forces and their families are treated fairly and not disadvantaged in their day-to-day lives. So one of the key things the Armed Forces Covenant is seeking to achieve is to remove disadvantage for serving personnel. It's not to provide advantage, but to remove disadvantage to those who serve and who have served our nation. I've got a quote from forces.net. So the quote goes, "Soldiers will be called upon to make personal sacrifices, including the ultimate sacrifice in their service to the nation. In putting the needs of the nation and the army before their own, they forego some of the rights that are enjoyed by those people outside of the armed forces." So the Armed Forces Covenant is that promise from the nation that those who serve or who have served and their families are not disadvantaged as a result of this service. And this means across different services such as welfare, education, housing, employment, and also health. So these services, these are things that the armed forces provide to their staff as part of their vocation. So upon leaving the services, it's important to make sure that veterans have the knowledge that, I suppose, as ourselves as civilians have in the civilian world, and are exposed to throughout our working careers. The covenant also recognises that special consideration is also appropriate in some cases, especially for those who have given the most, so those who've been injured, and also the bereaved as well. So those are the key principles behind the Armed Forces Covenant. So this is what the Armed Forces Covenant looks like. So this is the pledge document, normally just 3 pages. The covenant belongs to the entire nation, and employers are encouraged to sign their own copy of the Armed Forces Covenant in order to show your support. The process is very simple. The template's available to download. The covenant just needs to be signed by the senior person within the company, and then it's registered centrally and then uploaded onto the Armed Forces Covenant website. To date, there have been 5,374 Armed Forces Covenants that have been signed by organisations since 2014, and that's including 535 in the West Midlands. So this number is growing by an average of about 25 a week, which is fantastic. So yeah, that's the Armed Forces Covenant that we're encouraging businesses to look at and indeed sign. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Armed Forces community, if I may. So the Armed Forces community covers veterans, or also known as service leavers. The 2 terms are used synonymously. Those reservists, families, spouses and dependents of serving personnel, and also Cadet Force adult volunteers. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time talking about each of these parts of the Armed Forces community. So there are approximately 76,000 veterans that live in the West Midlands, and around 2.4 million that are living across the UK. So this is a significant market. Veterans make up also roughly about 2% of the working age population. Reservists are people who hold down regular jobs in the civilian world, but also give up their time on weekends and evenings to train with either the Royal Navy, the Army, or the Royal Air Force. The minimum commitment of training is 27 days a year, and it's estimated that the training that they receive as part of this 27 days or more would cost an organisation about £8,000 to implement. So employers who employ reservists can benefit from this military training. Reservists are critical to the operational capability of the UK Armed Forces at the moment. So it's about 19% of the total armed forces is the reserve force, and it's about 27% of the British Army are in the reserves. So it's really, really crucial that employers are made aware and are supportive, of their reservist staff. Just at this point, I wanted to plug a few events that we're running next week online. On Tuesday, Deputy Commander of the Army West Midlands is going to give an update on the reserve response to COVID-19 in the region. And that will detail a lot more about specifically what our reserves have been up to in the area. And we're also hosting a webinar on the 24th of June. That's next Wednesday, and that's called Joining the Reserve. So if anyone's interested, if you know of any furloughed staff who may be interested in finding out more about reserve service, we've got a webinar specifically dedicated to that. Okay, so moving on through this list, the Armed Forces Covenant, the Armed Forces community also includes families, military spouses, and dependents, and also the adult force, Cadet Force adult volunteers. So this recognises the great work that's been done through the cadets, through Cadet Force adult volunteers, and also these volunteers, if they're part of your workforce, they may have additional qualifications that would be of benefit to your organisation. So things like first aid, safeguarding, mentoring qualifications, all things that can be brought back into your business. So again, Defence Relationship Management has an interest in engaging with all who are involved within this Armed Forces community, not only to support you to be for us to be able to remove disadvantage, but also to create, mutually beneficial partnerships. The next slide is just confirmation of the footprint of the armed forces in the region. So you can see it's quite sizable, and like I said, it was a huge blind spot for me in a previous role where I didn't realise how much how many bases there were across the region. So now I'm going to move on to how the armed forces community can support businesses. So there's a list there that I'll go through. The armed forces community, they contribute real value to a business, both as employees, i.e. bringing a wealth of experience and talent and skills into the business, but also as customers as well. So reservists and cadet force adult volunteer training is free to an employer, so that's covered by the Ministry of Defence. And when we talk about military training, the three services train leaders at every level. So they develop transferable specialist and leadership skills, plus specific instructions in areas such as communication, IT, driving, health and safety, and personnel management. Much of the training is nationally recognised. Reservists are also trained to be physically fit, focused and resourceful. Many will operate in locations and situations that require sound judgment, respect for others, good communication, loyalty, integrity, working under pressure, and also courage. Of course, these attributes will be reflected in your workforce as well, so bring a wealth of skills into the civilian work. There's free recruitment agencies that are funded by the Ministry of Defence that can help you attract military personnel, service leaders into your business. We also have we recognise employers who are very, very supportive and are delivering on the pledges that they make as part of their covenant via the employer recognition scheme. And this gives you access to a lot of the networking events that we run throughout the year. The final point on that is really DRM can provide you with information and signposting on any defence people issues that you may have. So you may already be employing a service leaver, a veteran, a reservist, or a cadet force adult volunteer, and DRM are very, very happy to be the supporting link between yourselves and the armed forces. Okay, so the next slide is really about the ask, as to how businesses can show their support for the armed forces community. So as part of your armed forces covenant, we encourage employers to create pledges on their document to show their support. And of course, we'll be helping organizations that require support with the fulfillment of some of those pledges as well. I'm just going to work to talk through the template pledges of support, but none of these are obligatory. You can add and be more creative with your pledges also on your specific covenant. So things like promoting the fact that you're an armed forces friendly organisation, seeking to support the employment of veterans, and working with the Career Transition Partnership. So that's called CTP, and that's the free recruitment service that can help people transition, military personnel transition into the civilian workforce. Striving to support the employment of service spouses and partners, offering some flexibility in granting leave for service spouses and partners before, during, and after their partner's deployment. Seeking to support employees who choose to be members of the reserve forces, including by accommodating their training and deployment where possible. Just a caveat on that as well. We're fully appreciative that any employee that you employ is first and foremost your employee. Secondly, they're a member of their family, and thirdly, they're a reservist. So it's really, really important that we work with yourselves to support yourselves with to support that reservist as well. So we're fully supportive of the fact that they are your employee first and foremost. So moving through that list, offering support to local cadet units, either in the local community or in local schools where possible. So this may be a really, really good opportunity to promote your sector, promote any job opportunities that you have, particularly within apprenticeships. Within the cadets, you have a fantastic It's a fantastic youth organisation. Lots of really, really bright, young, talented individuals there that you may wish to promote some of your vacancies with. So aiming to support, actively participate in Armed Forces Day. And Armed Forces Week is actually next week, so we have a range of events that are running through next week. And as a follow-up to this presentation, I will be, sort of sending some information about Armed Forces Week. And then the last thing on that slide is, where possible or where appropriate, offering a discount to members of the Armed Forces community. So in terms of the steps to signing your Armed Forces Covenant, my team are more than happy to help you with the specifics. But just to run through it quickly, the Armed Forces Covenant template is available online. You're encouraged to edit section 2 of the document in order to outline your own commitments to the Armed Forces community. So that's where employers can create their own pledges of support. Once then you've added your company name and your logo to the page 1 of the Covenant Pledge. A senior representative then signs page 1, and then that document is scanned and then emailed to the Armed Forces Covenant team, and then that's registered and uploaded onto the Armed Forces Covenant website to be able to be viewed publicly. So it really is as simple as that. And my last slide here is just really showing you some of the activity that happened last year, pre-lockdown, obviously, in terms of some of the celebratory signings that we had. So Coventry City Football Club, Jeff Horsfield Foundation, Amethyst Academies Trust, and also the Royal Naval Association all signed the covenant to great fanfare. So that was really the Armed Forces Covenant in a nutshell. I'm really, really pleased to be able to introduce Major and Naveed Mohammed to talk specifically about the British Army. So, Anjum, if Major Naveed Mohammed wanted to take stage.
Okay,
Hiya.
Is that me?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Brilliant, excellent. Bobby, thank you so much for that introduction. A very good afternoon to everyone joining this West Midlands Reserve Forces and Cadets Association webinar. And thank you to West Midlands RCA for this opportunity to me to say a few words. I understand that we've got the technical wizard working away in the background, potentially reading any comments or questions that might be coming up. And hopefully we may get a chance to interact with the audience via any questions. So if I can take this opportunity to encourage everyone who may wish to pose a question, please do so, whether it be on what Bob is just given you, the insight Bob has given you on the Armed Forces Covenant, which is something which we as an organisation really do value. I'm here today as a member of the British Army, but absolutely the Covenant also applies across all services, i.e. the Royal Navy, the Royal Marines and the Royal Air Force. My name is Major Naveed Mohammed. I am currently serving in the Army. I joined the Army Reserve longer than I care to remember. Many people have been given less for murder than I've served. So 32 plus years. My background's been mainly as a reservist up until approximately 12 years ago, when I've taken on more of a full-time role. I trained in the Royal Corps of Signals as a telecommunications operator. But my role now is I work at one of the Army's senior headquarters in Aldershot, the Army's regional command, from where we direct and deliver community engagement activity. Now, whether that may be at a county show or whether it may be a visit to a place of worship, say like a gurdwara or a mosque or a church or whatever the case might be, as many opportunities that we can find where we can engage with what we call our target audiences. And who are our target audiences? Well, some of you are here today on this webinar. Employers are part of a quite important target audiences. Opinion formers, influencers, i.e. parents, guardians of young people, and obviously the young people themselves, whether it be those who may wish to join or those who may simply want to know more. And that's quite an important point I'd like to just cover for a second. What do I do? Well, my job is predominantly about building understanding. Why would anyone wish to become part of an organization, and stand aside the fact that I'm talking about the armed forces, we can look at more generally across society. Why would anyone want to be part of an organization or join an organization without first understanding what they're all about? If you look at the British Army, for example, I would argue that if you were to ask somebody to jot down 3 or 4 words after about their thoughts on the British Army, maybe Iraq and Afghanistan would feature in there, absolutely. And why that? Well, since pretty much the early 1990s, we've been involved in operations in the Middle East, but certainly more so since 2001 in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now that can be a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that at least people are aware that the army is busy and the army's still operating, and just for awareness, even today we are present in those 2 countries. But it's really, really important for us to get the message across that that's not all we do. Yes, absolutely, Iraq and Afghanistan featured very, very highly in soldiers of my generation in terms of our deployments. Personally, I deployed to the Balkans as a very new and young corporal, and I then deployed to Iraq in 2003, Afghanistan in 2010. But what else? Well, I've been to West Africa, although not as part of a deployment, but certainly to have a look to see what the British Army was doing in Sierra Leone in battling the horrendous Ebola outbreak. And we were we built a treatment center in the middle of the jungle. The Royal Engineers, literally within a number of weeks, built a treatment center, not just simply so that we could go and treat victims, but more for making sure that we were able to train the local healthcare workers, give them the skills, give them the experience, give them the support needed so that they could stand on their own 2 feet and treat victims of Ebola. Funny old thing, fast forward to COVID-19, and quite recently it wouldn't have escaped many people's attention the fact that the British Army, the British Armed Forces, once again were active in building hospitals, the Nightingale range of hospitals, all the way from London to Birmingham to Cardiff to the north, in order to be able to support the National Health Service at this time of quite severe crisis that we're facing as a country. And who's been responsible for all of that? Well, it's men and women serving in your armed forces, predominantly the British Army. However, the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force have been involved as well. And that's the next point I'd like to cover. The fact that what are we looking for when people are signing up for the Armed Forces Covenant? Yes, it's about showing your support for the institution, which is the Armed Forces. It's also showing your support for those who are currently serving and those who have served. Who is serving? Well, the British Army today and British Armed Forces today are not as reflective of British society as we would like to be. Okay, contrary to some messages I read on social media, this is not a simply quote unquote a political correctness stunt. Okay, diversity absolutely leads to effectiveness on the battlefield or on humanitarian aid and disaster relief operations. And I'll give you some real examples. If today you were to have some sort of military operation, whether it be combat or disaster relief in, say, Ghana, in Gambia, in Kenya, in South Africa, in India, in Pakistan, in Nepal, in Fiji, in the West Indies, the British Army today, and this is where we're quite unique, has people from those countries serving today who would be able to bring about a degree of cultural competence which would help the system deliver effect on the ground. And one example I'll make very, very clear, there was a horrendous earthquake in Nepal back in, I believe it was 2014. And the very first troops on the ground were members of the Brigade of the Gurkhas. And the fact that they were able to speak the language, they knew the environment, they knew the culture, meant that we were able to, as an organization, deliver the initial effect on the ground, i.e. opening up the airport, making sure routes were safe for the international aid agencies then to come in and help the people of Nepal. Kathmandu at the time was really badly hit. That's one example. Examples in the Middle East that we have soldiers currently serving who are able to speak particular languages, say Arabic or say Pashto, and those soldiers have been able to contribute quite effectively in operation in those countries. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea that having people of different backgrounds serving in the British Army is not simply something that we feel is a nice thing to do. It is something that's absolutely vital. Why should we not open up the net, if I can call it, to make sure that we capture as many people from society as possible? Putting that aside, what else do we offer? Young people today are quite savvy in terms of what they want out of a job. What we offer is not simply a 9-to-5 job. Some people want a 9-to-5 job, and we do offer that, but we also offer that personal development opportunity. So whether you are a person of a BAME background, whether you're someone who's white British, your background may have been quite similar. You may come from a working class background. You may be looking for an organization that's going to help you, that's going to develop you, that's going to make sure you get appropriate qualifications, that's going to look after you. And that's how we are, I think, quite uniquely placed in being able to offer social mobility to anyone who joins. I think it would be remiss of me not to mention events of the last couple of weeks and the conversation around diversity and inclusion. Very much the British Army today is an organization that easily caters for people of different backgrounds, whether that be people of a particular faith or a particular belief, people who have a particular dietary requirements. Yes, there are some restrictions, but if for example you are a vegetarian or you are a Muslim and you eat are only able to eat halal, if you are a Sikh or a Hindu who can only eat vegetarian, then the British Army today, the modern British Army today, can cater for you. Okay. However, myself and my colleagues who are from Sikh, Hindu, and white British backgrounds, this is not the first time that we're working together. This year, only recently, we celebrated VE Day. Sadly, not with all the pomp and ceremony that we would normally have had COVID-19 not been restricting us. The victory in Europe would not have been possible without the Commonwealth. I think I'm not a historian, but if you were to read into this, it would be quite obvious. On the 15th of August, we will, as a country, commemorate victory over Japan. And the British Indian Army played a significant role in bringing about the defeat of the Japanese in certainly in the Burma campaign. Yeah. So, we, those of us who are serving today from a diverse background, are following in the footsteps of others who have already served on behalf of the Crown and continue to do so today. And we're supportive at the highest levels. The protests that have happened, highlighting cases of racism in the country, have triggered the Chief of Defence Staff and other senior generals, such as Lieutenant General Tyrone Urch of the Army's Home Command, to put a letter out in the public domain, making it very clear what sort of culture, both senior leaders, making it very clear what sort of culture they expect to exist in the British Army today. the other chiefs of the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force have also put messages out. So when you, as employers, or you as members of the community, look to see what it is that you're supporting, yes, you are supporting the British Armed Forces, but you're also supporting the inclusive culture which enables men and women to serve on behalf of the country and be respected for whoever you are. Bobby, I've rambled on for quite a bit there, mate, but I think I'll take a pause there, and hopefully maybe we'll take some comments or questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bobby and Major Naveed. Wow, what a great insight. It's so good to, get a better understanding about the covenant, and also, Major Naveed, on the insight that you have given, and especially in regards to the Army and the Navy and the inclusive culture. And it's always great to see you at our events and your colleagues, and hear about what you are doing and reaching out to the community, because that is obviously really, really important. We, as the Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce, have signed the covenant, and we're absolutely right there. Not just talking. We put it into actions as well. But I just want to do, before I go on to questions, and thank you, Bobby, and I've seen you started answering a lot of the questions that have been coming through. But do you have to have a minimum number of employees to sign the covenant? Is there any particular sector that you don't sign off to the covenant either? Well, Bobby, maybe you can answer that.
I think we see the Armed Forces Covenant as the entire nation's promise. It's a promise from the nation. So regardless of size, we really want to speak with all employers and all people to encourage them to sign the Armed Forces Covenant and work in whichever way they can in order to support the community. So yeah, this is open to everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. And the lockdown has not stopped businesses from signing up the covenant. From what I have also seen, that you are doing virtual sign-ups as well, aren't you?
Yeah, we're really, really happy to have Cass, who's on the call as well, sign the first first virtual signing of the Armed Forces Covenant. And we've got some. We're having conversations later on in the week with certain people with regards to them signing the covenant as well. It's not essential that the covenant needs to be signed alongside a senior military representative. It can just be signed with and sent in. But obviously, if we like organisations to publicise their covenant, in particular to their customer base, to their supply chain, and then also then to their internally to their staff as well.
No, that's great. And I just want to say to the people who are watching this webinar that, Bobby and his team are available, to do these kind of webinars with your team to get a better understanding, if you would like that as well. I'm just going to go on to the questions now, and let's have a look here. So we've got Andrew Wood. He's saying hello from Herefordshire and home instead. And says he has a national home care business, and they love veterans who often make fabulous caregivers with huge alignment of values, and is very accessible occupation post-service, often providing simple companionship to people over the age of 65. And that is obviously really, really important. And we've had Michael as well to say that numerous opportunities for veterans considering franchises as well. So that's them plugging their service. So if anyone is interested on that, and let's have a look, Shide. He wants to know who the best person is, and I've already seen, Bobby, that you have responded to that you'll be in touch with him and Andrew via email. Just get out of the... So we've had Stephen saying he's a volunteer for the charity Changes Health and Wellbeing, and we offer help to people suffering from mental health, mental distress. I would like to know, would this charity be able to benefit from the AFC?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things we like to is to make sure that we're signposting to all organisations to make it so that any issues within that any employers have, they have access already to all the services. The main website that we encourage employers to access is the Veterans Gateway website. But we have a document that I'll send through with the notes to this webinar with links to lots and lots of different websites, and we can certainly add to that. That it's an evolving document.
Sure. No, that's great. I mean, this webinar has been recorded. We will follow up with an email with the contact details of Bobby as well. So if anybody wants to get in touch, they can do with the links for the website as well. So I'm just going to come back to you, Bobby, and also to Major Naveed. Is there anything that you'd like to say to end this webinar?
Yeah, I mean, if I may, I just wanted to share some information about some of the upcoming events that we have.
Please do.
So next week is Armed Forces Week. We have a Reserves Day event on the 24th of June, on Wednesday next week, for anyone who's maybe interested in joining the reserves, or anyone who's interested in finding out a lot more. So this may be a particular interest to any furloughed staff or young people that you're aware of. You can actually join the reserves from depending on the service, from the age of 16 up to the age of 49. So there's lots of opportunities for everyone, as you saw across the region as well. We will have all three services speaking at that Reserves Day event. And additionally, on the 25th of June, the Army Engagement Group will be delivering a presentation specifically for the West Midlands. So the purpose of this will be to give people a better understanding of how the British Army serves the country. And we were talking about it before, weren't we, Anjum? It's normally an incredible presentation. It's really worthwhile, joining that webinar for an hour on Thursday next week. I can't recommend that enough, to be fair. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for that. We have had another question come through. Andrew's asking, can you describe how internal job boards work for employment opportunities on offer? Are these local to county areas or national, for example?
Yeah, so the main websites or the main services that we recommend are the Career Transition Partnership website, the service that Forces Families Jobs offer in terms of their recruitment support, and also the Poppy Factory that deliver support to veterans within the communities. So those are the experts, really. It's so in terms of that, we'll put you in touch with the experts who really can really support with that. And any initiatives, obviously this is evolving, so any initiatives that you feel that we should be getting involved with or supporting, more than happy to push things forward as well. And like I said, I'll share all of those links on the follow-up notes.
Yes. So Shadi is asking if they're able to get the dates by email as well. So yes, we will send those out to you of all the upcoming events as well, and also contact details for Bobby for you to be able to make contact as well. I think we've still got people typing away, so it's great to see that there is a keen interest, and rightly so as well. Foreign organisations. Okay, so yeah, Simon has also responded to that, the questions that are coming through. So thank you. But any questions that you still wanted to ask and have not been able to, please do email us, and we would be more than happy to answer those as well. Grace, can I ask you to take us to the next slide, please? Just going to bring that on. So I do want to thank you both for joining us and giving up your time to go through today in regards to what the Armed Forces Covenant is all about. Just to all those attendees as well, just want to let you know that the Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce, the support that we have available for you as well. So, a slide has come up, and if you do require to make contact with us, please do. Next slide, Grace, please. Let's go wait for that to come. So my email address is also on there, and also our website. And also we're highlighting the upcoming webinars, which are absolutely free of charge for you to book onto as well. So as I've just mentioned, that this webinar has been recorded. We will send you a link out for our YouTube account, and also we will follow up with all the event dates that are coming up with the West Midlands Reserves Forces Cadets Association, and Bobby's email, and you can make contact with him in regards to any questions. Thank you so much once again, Bobby and Major Naveed, and I hope you all stay safe. Take care.
Thank you.